The world woke up on a quiet Monday morning to news that felt less like a headline and more like a tectonic shift in global power. In Beijing, a city known for its carefully orchestrated political theater, something truly unexpected happened. The leaders of India and China stood side by side, decades locked in a bitter rivalry. They announced a partnership so vast, so ambitious, that financial markets from New York to London froze in disbelief. To truly grasp the magnitude of this event, one must understand the history of animosity between India and China. This is not a simple rivalry. It is a complex relationship filled with suspicion, military conflict, and deep ideological differences. For more than 60 years, their soldiers have faced each other across a long and poorly defined border in the Himalayas. This line of actual control has been the site of skirmishes and standoffs, most recently in the past decade, where lives were lost on both sides. China's ambitious Belt and Road Initiative, a massive global infrastructure project, has often been seen in New Delhi as an attempt to encircle India. India built counter-alliances with Japan, Australia, and the United States. The $1.6 trillion figure is staggering, but what does it actually mean in practical terms? This is not just a simple agreement to buy and sell more products. It is a comprehensive plan to intertwine the two largest economies in Asia at almost every level. A core component is a new, integrated supply chain. China will help India build domestic manufacturing muscle in high-tech sectors like semiconductors, electric vehicles, renewable energy. In return, India will give Chinese companies preferential access to its market of 1.4 billion consumers. Western companies have long coveted that prize. Another pillar is infrastructure development. China will invest in upgrading India's ports, railways, and digital networks. Perhaps most revolutionary, this challenges the US dollar's dominance with a rupee-yuan payment system bypassing SWIFT. The announcement of the India-China Pact hit the American economy like a sudden winter storm. The immediate impact was felt on Wall Street, where the Dow experienced its steepest single-day drop in over a year. Stocks of major American companies that rely heavily on the Indian market, companies like Apple, Amazon, Walmart, plummeted. Their future prospects were thrown into question. The pain quickly spread from Wall Street to Main Street as fears of widespread job losses mounted. American farmers and specialty producers faced losing access to the massive Indian market. The U.S. tech industry, outsourcing and back-office services, was deeply vulnerable. The agreement includes provisions to build a joint semiconductor manufacturing ecosystem, threatening U.S. firms. The reaction from American leaders was, swift, furious, and honestly tinged with a sense of shock. Leading the charge was former President Donald Trump. From his social media platform, he issued a series of blistering statements. He labeled the agreement a historic betrayal by India. "Sleepy Joe let this happen. He was weak. Now China and India are laughing at us." The current administration, while more diplomatic, conveyed a similar sense of alarm. The Secretary of State called an emergency press conference. After years of cultivating India as a counterweight, the pact felt like betrayal. The White House announced an urgent review of U.S. policy toward India. Behind the scenes, the mood in Washington was one of panic. Intelligence agencies had apparently missed the warning signs. This intelligence failure sparked internal reviews and recriminations. This $1.6 trillion agreement is far more than a trade deal. It is a fundamental challenge to the global power structure that has been in place since the end of World War II. For over 70 years, the world has operated within a system largely designed and led by the United States. American military alliances, the US dollar's role, and dominance in institutions like the World Bank and IMF were the pillars. By creating a massive, self-contained economic bloc, these two Asian giants are effectively building an alternative to the American-led order. They are signaling that the world is no longer unipolar. A new center of economic gravity is rising in the East. The new rupee-yuan payment system is a direct attempt to blunt US economic leverage. If more countries trade in other currencies, America's ability to police the global financial system weakens. This could lead to a more fragmented multipolar world where different blocs operate by different rules. International institutions already struggling with gridlock may become less effective. The shockwaves from the India-China deal will not be confined to the United States. Nations across the globe are forced to make difficult choices. Vietnam, the Philippines, Indonesia. Their foreign policy choices become a high-wire act of balancing. In Europe, reactions mix concern with calculation. Germany, France and more will fear being squeezed between the United States and the Sino-Indian bloc. Resource-rich countries in Africa, Latin America and the Middle East face new customers and new leverage, but also new dependencies. For Russia, this alliance is a strategic gift. It can supply energy, raw materials and military technology. A Russia-China-India alignment would create a formidable Eurasian power center. This could trigger a new scramble for resources and diplomatic courting. As the world struggles to digest this new reality, the most important question remains: will this alliance last? The partnership between India and China is a giant, but it may be a fragile one. Built on shared interests, it could crack under the weight of historical mistrust. National pride runs deep. Any perceived slight could shatter the pragmatic logic. Chinese companies with state backing could overwhelm Indian counterparts, leading to resentment and accusations of unfair competition. The United States will try to pull India back into the Western fold, offering security, trade, and diplomatic support. Two futures remain: a temporary marriage of convenience that unravels, or an alliance that holds and reshapes global history. If so, August 25, 2025, will be remembered as the day the post-American world truly began. What we are witnessing is more than just a geopolitical shift. It is the dawn of a new economic era. The fundamental assumptions that have guided global business and politics for the past 3 decades are now being called into question. We are entering a period of economic fragmentation where the world is divided into competing blocs with their own supply chains, standards, and financial systems. This landscape will be far more complex and unpredictable for businesses and investors alike. For the United States, this moment is a profound wake-up call. It must shift from reactive to proactive strategy. That requires major domestic investment in education, infrastructure, and technology. It will also demand more humble, collaborative diplomacy, rebuilding alliances on mutual respect and shared interests. Cooperative projects, trade agreements, and equitable development will be vital. For developing nations, the new era presents opportunities and risks, leverage and choice, but also pressure to pick sides. They may gain leverage, yet face new geopolitical dangers. The shape of the new world will depend on the choices made in the critical years ahead. A new world is being born. Understand it, adapt, and engage.